Welcome, everybody. This is Pratish here, and we have a very interesting subject, on consumer behavior, and that being very vast and very interesting. There is 5 modules that is actually planned. I hope I can cover as much as detail as possible during these 5 sessions, and look forward to being part of this entire thing as well as hearing your comments on that. So let me get started by firing up the screen. Here you go. Right. So that's the subject, consumer behavior. And these are some of the modules that we would like to be covering during this entire, session altogether. Or not one session, maybe 5 sessions divided into 5 modules. So consumer behavior introduction and overview, followed by types of consumer decision making and loyalty. A little more in terms of what we could do is understanding the tourism consumer. What are consumer perceptions, cultural influences, attitudes, personalities, and lifestyles? And the last to end would be about the Indian tourism consumer. That's going to be one interesting one because Indians are touted to be the next largest group besides Chinese, to actually start visiting various countries and all of that. And let's hope that's happening really soon. So, what is consumer behavior? I think it's about how people behave. And I think there's a very interesting picture of you saying that, what do I buy? What am I thinking of buying? Who do I buy it for? Or that's, and what am I buying? Can I afford it? There are many things. So consumer behavior is primarily encircled around how a consumer conceives an idea, delves in terms of what needs to be purchased and how it needs to be purchased, and then finally the purchase portion of it, and then followed by, post purchase behavior. Right. So I'm going to start off by talking primarily in terms of what the lay of the land is, in terms of consumer behavior. So this is a very famous, model that is actually propagated by Philip Kotler many years back, and it has altogether 6 processes that are there as a part of the consumer behavior model. One is starts off. I mean, of course, these are all interconnected, so don't read them as one, diagram that goes from here to here. All of them are interconnected, so that's how the imagery should be. But with the space constraint, it was difficult for us to do that. However, so starting off with market stimuli. Market stimuli is actually about the products and services that are available. What is the price? What is the method of distribution? And finally, how are you communicating this? And other market stimuli is the economic conditions. So when I have a better economic condition, I tend to buy better things. I would look for something which is more luxurious. Technology, it's like, so technology would mean there is a shift in technology, and then I'm planning to buy, for example, a phone, from an iPhone 1 to 3 to 4 to 5, and we're almost going to reach number 12. Political situation is a very, very critical thing that to talk about, primarily saying that what is the political situation can actually, determine what is being purchased in that country. So very similar to what we are currently facing in terms of COVID, saying that it's more of an economic as well as a political situation, wherein which this is forcing us to stay within confined limits, stay at home, work from home, not delve outside. So this has a lot of impact on our purchase behaviors. Few things that were thought so easily possible some time back have completely changed. I'll try to cover that in terms of specific behaviors, in terms of various products. Cultural. Now, cultural, please remember there are different types of cultures around the world, different types of cultures within a city itself. And what is that have to do with your purchase behavior? For example, festivals is a part of culture, and there is a different set of behaviors during festivals. Let's say uh, there is a marriage, there is a, it's a cultural thing, and there is different types of purchase behavior around that. So that's primarily in terms of the other stimuli. Further, all of these things are just act as stimuli. Now it comes down to consumer psychology, saying that what is my motivation? What is the perception that I have? What is the learning that I have done about that particular product or category or so on? What is my memory? Good memories, bad memories, what I've been told by someone. All of those comes in terms of consumer psychology. Consumer characteristics again goes through cultural. What are the cultural characteristics of buying a certain type of product? What are the social implications, the positives and negatives, and what is the personal, characteristics? This primarily will go into the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, primarily saying that what level of need is he in, and that's when he's making that purchase. Now, buying process also has got a buying decision-making process, which is about, first of all, recognizing the problem. Second would be searching of information, evaluation of different types of alternatives that are actually available. Then comes the purchase decision to buy A or B or C, and then the in purchase behavior there comes aspect in terms of final price negotiation, method of payment, method of delivery. All of that directly impacts post-purchase behavior. So now post-purchase behavior is after you bought something and you tend to, think, have I made the right decision? So that's called, that is a very, very important aspect of what's called a purchase behavior, saying that does the customer feel that he's made the right decision, and how important does he feel in terms of having made the right type of spend, and or has he made a mistake? Those are important things in terms of post-purchase behavior. And in the purchase decision, there is product choice, brand choice, dealer choice, purchase amount, purchase timing, purchase method, and so on. So this is literally the lay of the land when it comes to consumer behavior. Of course, there is no single thing that is, all of these things are happening simultaneously when you're making decisions. So it's, let's say you're in a shop, you actually have all of these things literally in the matter of few seconds. And most of these things are your gut decisions that you actually make, saying that this is this is what I want. And in fact, impulse behavior is something that is, can be talked about during this session. So consumer behavior, this is a definition, this is again a Kotler definition, is a study of how individuals, groups, and organizations buy, use, and dispose goods, services, ideas, experience to satisfy their needs and wants. I mean, brilliant. Literally, in terms of saying that consumer behavior is not only individual, it could be a group, it could be a family group, it could be a larger group, or organization. It could be B2B. That's what we call as organizational consumer behavior when we have to make a large purchase, and that is a clear cut. Some of the larger organizations have a clear cut methodology in terms of how they would make a certain purchase. For example, it could be a small office or large organization deciding to buy a photocopying machine. What is the process? What is the method? And what are the standards that are actually there within the organization to actually uh, uh, recognize the need, decide on what type of solution works for them, what is the wide set of brands, how is it that is different from the rest of the options that are available, and then finally making the decision altogether. But I've just compressed it. It depends upon the organization itself and the type of purchase that they're actually making. So now, I think let's objectively focus more on the individual side. It's much more easier to understand from a unit point of view. I think that's more critical than to understand an organization buying process at this stage. Of course, that's not that it's less important, but it is something that is far more structured as opposed to think. But of course, even an organizational uh, purchase behavior is actually very much like this. But of course, it's quantified and standard. There is a standard process to it. So the buying process starts off from one is the recognition of need. Recognition of need can be, for example, if I were to actually go to a shop, I get tempted instantly. So that's a recognition. Is that, wow, that's something attractive, I want to buy it. So very clearly is about need recognition. Second thing is the information search. So let's say I'm at a store, or okay, I'm talking primarily in person. Let's say if I want to be, now what am I looking for? I'm looking to buy a pair of new glasses actually. So I'm actually trying to say that, okay, look, this glasses need to change, and I need to look get for a better one. So I start searching for the information, the various brands, and chosen a. I mean, I've shortlisted a Dolce and Gabbana, but I still don't know where I can find them. But it's that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm actually searching online, and in fact, some of the tools today that are available is actually let you put your face and check various, the options that you have without even moving out of your house. So you don't have to go to a shop. You can actually do it online and then purchase it online. So that's how it is. So then you start searching for the information. Then you come down to evaluation, saying that I have a Dolce and Gabbana, I have a Ray-Ban, I have a brand called John Jacobs that has come up. It looks quite interesting. So that's kind of those are the three shortlists. Now I have to make an actual choice between these three based on its price, characteristics, brand value, recognition. How's it going to make me look? Do I feel good about it? All of that. That's when I make the purchase decision, and then I actually make the purchase. And after buying purchase, I would actually go through this, post purchase evaluation, saying that, oh my God, did I actually make a mistake, or is it going to waste? And, you know, or if somebody makes a negative comment to you, you just get bewildered altogether. So that's buying process from an individual point of view. And then, of course, now you want to let's take a larger purchase decision. Each of these, what do you call the activity gets into a larger stage. For example, I need to buy a new car, for example. If I do find the need to buy a new car, I'm not going to go tomorrow and buy a car. It's not going to happen. Of course, I mean, of course, if I have a lot of money, probably will, but then that's not the case. So it's about, first of all, understanding the need, understanding, okay, look, I need it for these two purposes. I need for short commute. I need to go for long commute. I need it to look good. So you clearly understand that. Look, my car's getting old. I want to put on new image, and it matters. But then with new COVID, do I really need to buy the car now, or can I wait for another couple of months? That's when you start recognizing the need, based on which, and now you say that, look, I think SUV is best suited for me, and suits my family. We can travel on that, and we can do long distance driving, all of that. It can take me to the airport. I can park it very easily, and take care of all the water on the road, or the potholes and things like that. And an SUV would suit. And then I start searching for the brands that would be actually be fitting those each of those characteristics. So is it a Hyundai, or is it a Mercedes? Is it a BMW, or is it a Suzuki, or any of that? So those are some of the brands that are, of course, Toyotas and so on. And so it's clearly for you to understand what would be the alternatives that will best suit you, make you look good, various parameters best fits in within your budget. Do I need to take a loan, or can I actually manage without taking a loan? What will be the down payment? Things like that. So that's when you start evaluating the criteria, evaluating the vehicle. Do I need a 2 liter? Do I need a 1.5? Do I need a 3 liter? All of that. So that's when you start, searching, and that search becomes a short search, a short list. And from a short list, you combine to two, three options. That's when you start doing a test drives and start evaluating, saying that, wow, this really felt good. The BMW was really nice. The series was quite nice, but maybe I should wait for another 2 months. They're launching the new model, and that hasn't come out yet. Maybe I should wait. Those are the kind of decisions that actually will come into place. And then when I'm ready is when I would, make the funds available, and then of course make the purchase decision, and then go ahead and buy it. And then after you buy it, that's when you really truth hits you, and you got to really think, oh my God, is this really worth it? And in fact, to be honest, I'll be straightforward. I find this the top portion, that's recognition, information search, evaluation, and purchase decision. In fact, information search and evaluation of alternatives the most enjoyable, because that's when you get to imagine how you're going to be, and the different cars that you have, the different test drives that you do, all of that, and it's all about all the dreaming. But then once it's done, it's like, oh my God, okay, it's done now. What else? So that's how it is. So that's how interesting buying process is for anyone. So now translate that into individuals, into large family decisions, into larger, group of people trying to purchase something, to larger organizations. But more or less, this would be the steps that will actually be followed. So why do we actually study consumer behavior. Now, as marketers, and I think that's primarily where most of us are right now, to clearly understand who is our target. Who's our target? What are the kind of needs do they have? How is it that we can gain insights into his behavior and make this entire process what's called a seamless? And in fact, there's a particular word that is coming into play over here. It's called frictionless purchase. So in your entire set of let's say purchasing of a car, how seamless and how frictionless can a car company make it for you to you know conceive the idea in your head and say that, look, these are the options available, to the entire buying process and the post purchase behavior. Few companies have excelled at it in terms of how they manage the consumers behavior, perception, and attitude in every single step. And I think personally, for me, Mercedes has done an excellent job in terms of managing that. But some of the others are okay, and but of course it depends on the value of the car and the segment that you are in, and it makes a hell of a lot of difference for you to clearly understand what is the basis of the consumer purchase, gain insights, and understand what are the unfulfilled needs and partially satisfied needs, and that's how you can make the entire portion frictionless and seamless. Now, consumer behavior is not only important from a marketing point of view for people who are selling products and services, also from a public policy point of view. Now, this is where the governments, let's say they're implementing a new policy, they would have to develop policies that are contemporary, first of all, which is new age, which reflects today's aspirations and needs, which are relevant and which are congruent with the changing consumer needs, values, and practices. So there's no point trying to bring about. In fact, these are classical situations in the world. You must have noticed that when there is a certain policy that is being released out, and the minute you start seeing in less than a week people protesting on the street, that's when you know public policy has gone bad, or public policy is backfired, or policy is going to backfire. And I think there are numerous examples of that where public policy itself has come under so much of pressure and constrained literally from the government. So clearly consumer behavior needs to be understood not only by the private marketing companies or the producers of goods and services, also by the government. So it's a very, very important subject altogether. Now, some of the others is social marketing and inform customers. Social marketing is primarily done to encourage behavior of an individual or a community or society. So primarily so let's say I think classical examples of social marketing is insurance. Insurance has done a tremendous job over the years of making you buy things well ahead in time to save yourselves from a compelling situation that could emerge in the future. So it's like it's very simple. It's like, how do you're buying actually security of something that could happen in the future. So that's primarily what social marketing comes under in terms of insurance. And inform customers. Now this is to clearly understand, saying that if I were to put out a product or services, are my consumers able to make the sensible decisions in terms of buying that? And what are some of the insights that I can get to know about customers in terms of the whole buying process? It comes back to how frictionless I can actually make it. So types of consumer behavior. Now this is very interesting. So we'll take it from a very easy point of view, which is a shop. And what happens typically in a shop, especially if you're trying to sell smaller products that are bargainable and so on. One is a browser, the person who actually comes to the shop without any kind of prerequisite in his head, saying that I want to purchase A or B and things like that. And these are the kind of people who, if they like something, they fancy it, they would say, wow, this really looks interesting, I may be interested in buying it. And for them, it's about creating a fantastic visual merchandising, funky displays. And of course, they will definitely bargain, but So it's more of how you can actually entice these people. So a browser is a good person. So if you have a general browser coming to the store, you can actually convert him because he has not come with any kind of a prefabricated idea saying that do I need this or not that, all of that. So that makes it very, very interesting. An impulse buyer, this is the kind of guy we really like, who just comes inside, says that I want that. And, so, so IKEA has understood that, how they actually catch this particular type of customer. In fact, it's called catching the price of this customer. In fact, there is uh, whenever you do an impulse sale in IKEA, you actually get a prize for the staff, literally saying that, so this guy just buys it because he fancies it altogether, and he really loves it. And so, of course, it could be no gender specific; it could be male or female that could do that. But impulse buyers are, that kind are one of them. So that's a good site. So that if I fancy something, that's it. There's no question of price or anything. I just buy it. You know, informed shoppers. Now these are little smart guys, who come, especially when you're making a more planned purchase. For example, in the case of watches, or in the case of cars, or in the case of, let's say, shoes, and I'm currently somewhere in that. So please remember, I may be a browser in some situations. I may be an impulse buyer in some situation. I can be an informed shopper in situations, and I can be a negotiator in some situations. There's no, classifications of people, but it's about, the behavior that actually can emanate from absolutely nothing. For example, impulse buying in terms of a shoe, I could just about make a decision to buy it immediately, provided I see it. But otherwise, I'm an informed shopper. So now I can give you an example over here. I'm actually looking for running shoes because we are not able to go to the gym and stuff like that. So the best thing is to do is to run. So I run a lot. So if that's the case, the shoes that I thought was going to last me at least a year has now got eroded over the last couple of months, in fact, and I'm just a little anxious in terms of what shoe to buy. So now I'm researching which is the top running shoes, and of course, I've shortlisted two brands. Asics is one, Adidas is one, and third is Nike. So I'm not able to make a choice between Asics or Nike. And I said that, look, uh, I'm the kind of customer who knows the details, saying that this is for this particular application. This is the kind of sole that I required. This is the kind of impact. This is the kind of surface that I'm actually running in. This could be either a car, toothbrush, toothpaste, but an informed shopper is an incredible guy who has gone into phenomenal detail. To act, to I would say, to manage a person like this, you have to have a fantastic salesperson who understands what an informed shopper looking, and not try to dissuade him in any manner, to only make him up. Let's say, for example, if I've looked for the A6 gel, and there are 2, 3 versions of the gel, of course, one is less expensive than the other. Now, the sales guy could be the person saying that, sir, I think it's better you go in for this. So that could help me upsell. So that's primarily good to talk to an informed customer, saying that I really recognize the fact that you understand this, but sir, this is new and I think you should consider that. So that could be an important aspect. Further, we have the negotiator. Negotiators are tough guys who come into the shop and whose only objective is to pay less for whatever you've done. So, they would come back and, lay traps and saying that I found this much cheaper in your neighbor's shop. Saying that, it's far better there. They have a better color. Many such excuses. The only objective is to actually bargain with you. So this is how your sales guys have to be very, very, and you have to have an absolutely smart guy to manage a negotiator. Then, of course, you have another type of guy, which is not only the negotiator, but he's a bargain hunter. He's only interested in looking at, products that are on sale. He's not even interested in looking at some of the newer things. He says that, look, that doesn't really entice me. Tell me what's on sale, and I'll be only looking at those ones which are in that, So they're a master of getting a good deal. Even if they didn't realize they needed it, they're only seeking a good deal for that. And the next comes the brand fan. Now, this is an amazing set of guy, and probably I fit in there again. So I would buy something because it comes from a certain brand. And there are certain people who, let's say for example, people who stand in queues to get hold of the new iPhone or the OnePlus phone. There are queues and queues of people, and I always wondered, wow, it's amazing that you could go exactly after 1 week and get the same phone, but then you're willing to stand on the day it's going to be opening. So these are fans of brands. And people, there are the brands, only objective is to have more and more people who fit into this profile, who are completely eccentric about their particular product or brand. And some of the brands have done excellent work in terms of creating so much of aura around the before the launch that it creates queues and queues of people. So one is, of course, it has to be a highly innovative, highly disruptive kind of product. It has to be top of the line. It has to be have the latest of technology. It has to have features that others don't have, and it has to be something completely mesmerizing. And these are very interesting. There is a bell curve, inverted bell curve, but these are people who are what we call as innovators. They're the ones who would do something just for the sake of being first. So those are typically the brand fan. And next comes the practical shopper. Now he's the person who comes with a list and sticks to the list. He doesn't look here and there. He comes there, he buys one particular product and goes back. That's a practical shopper. And the next one is a window shopper, who is in one way the most irritating guy to actually have, who just come, take a look, and zero engagement. So that's why we say good luck with this one. All right. Next comes what are the factors that actually influence consumer behaviors? Now, please remember there are broadly 4 or 5 factors that actually do. One is situational factors. The buying task. Now, please remember that if the task is very, very cumbersome, it has a lot of distance, or it has a lot of process, it has a lot of queues, it could have many of those kind of things. If the task itself is very complicated, there are many people who would dissuade or who will just back off altogether. And also depends on the market offerings. If there is a tempting enough offer, you actually would go for it. So the tasks and offerings have to be combined in such a manner, saying how attractive do you actually make it. So those are what we call as situational factors. Then comes your other factors like demographic, life stage, lifestyle, and personality. So the type of product is dependent by your age, your income, your the country that you live in, and all the demographic parameters that actually come to play. Life stage. What are you married? Are you single? All of that actually makes a big difference as well. Lifestyle. Are you living a luxury lifestyle? Are you living a simple life? Are you a person who has a clutter free kind of an environment, or a person who has a lot of things in the house and not to collect? Also the personalities. So personalities could mean any. It could be an extrovert, introvert. It could be the type of profession each of these persons are having, what a doctor needs versus a lawyer needs, and all of that. Then comes the psychological factors like motivation, learnings, and attitudes and beliefs, saying that what is my actual motivation to buy it? What are the learning that I have about the product? What are the attitudes and beliefs that we have? Culture, subclass, social class, family, I've already given you a small reference of that. So again, it follows through this entire thing, but these are some of the factors that actually influence consumer behavior. So for us now, why is it that it makes business sense to learn consumer behavior, and especially now? Understanding, analyzing, and keeping track of consumer behavior is critical for business if you want to influence a consumer purchase. So how do you feel? How do your customers feel about your products and services, and why they choose you or your competitors? Very clear and very important to understand. Why do they choose a product A, or why do they choose a product B? How are they actually researching the product? What is it? Where all do they go search for the product? How do they understand? So these are some of the very, very important aspects. How important are consumer reviews and research? User generated content. Do they prefer to buy it offline or online? So these are just some basic questions, but depending on the category. For example, we are currently working with a wine brand, and it's so important that he's trying to work. He's trying to actually launch a wine from the Spanish region. And he has about 4 or 5 critical markets where he wants to launch this product. So very clearly, our objective is to understand behaviors of consumers in each of these markets. Who are the purchasers of wine, largely on a larger group? What are the usage patterns? How many, what is the usage behavior? How many bottles do they have? All of that. So there is a lot of, I would say quantifiable, it's called quantifiable data that we actually collect. Then we go in for the quality data. Quality data is more of high quality data that wherein we understand that these are some of the qualifications that a brand needs before the consumer makes a purchase. So we would actually do things like a market research, wherein which we talk to consumers in a focus group, understanding what are some of the occasions that they buy it and why would they choose a particular type of brand. How do they drink it, and do they consume one full bottle at a time? What are some of the occasions that are there? What are some of the brands that they're looking at? And again, that's the time we actually test out, saying that, look, what is your perception of French brands? What is the perception of Spanish brands, Italian brands, and so on? From the US and from Australia and so on. And now you have many regions of wine, so you clearly need to understand to which group are you willing to give your premium to, and why would I like a certain type of bottle? So we understand the bottle shape, the type of wine, red wines, white wines, sparklings, and so on. So we have a big uphill task, and I'm quite excited to start off that journey sometime next week. But it's going to be good, definitely, touch wood. So that's where it is. So it's very important that we understand consumer behavior, and we are even trying to name this product. So when we're talking about names, you got to be super critical. So one is, of course, to check if the name is available itself. Secondly, you have to do all your IP testing. Third is actually develop a brand that actually resonates that particular category excellently, and that it means that it has got a strong relation with Spain. Otherwise, I could have a nice sounding word, but if it has no association with Spain, then you're just one among the other guys, and it's more difficult to compete. So again, that's sort of subject to what we are able to position the brands altogether. So very, very critical to understand consumer behavior, and especially now. This was a research which was actually done on, I would say, somewhere in the month of March and April. And at that point of time, people said that Corona has not made any impact on your shopping behavior. I think that's definitely has changed quite a bit. And just look at what the impact was, and I think that still holds good. 62% have started stockpiling. Now, that's an amazing thing that we also notice, that consumers are actually now purchasing larger packs in lesser frequency. That's an important thing to understand if you're an owner of a business, to clearly understand if they're buying larger packs, how are you actually promoting in larger packs? What is the offer? What is the method that you are reaching out to them? Secondly, they are actually buying products that they wouldn't normally buy. For example, in fact, if you were to take the behavior of as early as January, February, and even early March, there was no hand sanitizer. And then suddenly exploded the need for hand sanitizer literally absolutely anywhere. So now it is hand sanitizer, wipes, sprays, for everything, for your car, for your house, for your living room. And now literally every room has got something to do with the hand sanitizer and things like that. So, and then now I'm very, very, very comfortable actually making purchases online. So earlier, online purchases and offline purchases always went on up and down depending upon the category. But now we are more comfortable with more of online purchase, because you don't have to interact with people in your zone, and you don't want to get into any kind of mess. So you would actually look at the online more. So shopping in a store that I wouldn't normally stop is actually low. So comparatively, if I were to say that, I have stopped going to shops for every drop of a hat that used to happen earlier, but now it's more of a planned purchase and a larger set of purchase. So some of the countries are actually seeing some amount of uh, positive or optimistic and pessimistic behavior, but over the last let's say now from March onwards, it has been a steady decline, but just slight ups and downs. But overall, there has been a decline across most of the markets. Wherein which if you were to take what is the pre-COVID levels to the post-COVID levels, there's been a phenomenal amount of change, and that is something that is really worrying. And we really need to plan and understand how so that we can actually manage consumer behavior in a manner in which we can induce more purchases. So look at this. This is a very interesting graph that actually came from the US in terms of the various buying, all markets, in fact. The US, Brazil, South Africa, UK, France, India, Japan, Korea, and all of that.